All right, folks, let's dive straight in. President Trump, standing there in the rotunda of the Capitol, laid down what he called the golden age of America. Big words, yeah, but he didn't stop there. He painted a picture of a brand new chapter for this country, promising to restore our pride, unity, sovereignty, you name it. Now, it's not all sunshine and rainbows. He made it clear, dead clear. There are challenges stacked higher than Mount Everest. He was blunt, calling out what he sees as a broken system, a government that fails to protect its own people, but somehow manages to do backflips for foreign interests. That's his starting point, a system he says has gone off the rails. And that's where this whole golden age begins, in fixing what's broken. He didn't mince words about justice either. Talked about the so-called weaponization of the Justice Department, his words, not mine, accused the last administration of turning it into a political battering ram. Now think about that. He's saying it's high time for a rebalancing act, to bring fairness and integrity back, right? It's a bold statement, but he's putting this front and center. And if you heard him, it was a rallying cry, plain and simple. Then there's the economy. He described it like a wounded soldier that needs to be patched up, his policies aiming to get it standing tall again. This part hit familiar notes, if you followed him. America first, drilling for oil, cutting back on those green policies. It's a clear roadmap for economic resurgence, or at least a shot at it. And I mean, there's plenty of debate about how realistic or risky this all is, but his confidence? Yeah, it's through the roof. And let's not overlook the symbolism he used, the whole Golden Age term. It's not just about policies, it's about inspiring Americans to get behind this vision, and I guess, believe in that golden future again. He's betting big that his election is, what'd he call it again? A mandate, yeah, a mandate for change. But we'll see if the guy can deliver on the sheer weight of those promises. All right, let's dig into a major cornerstone of President Trump's plan, the border. He didn't waste time, folks. He declared a national emergency at the southern border on day one. That's a bold move, and one that's going to shake things up big time. The Remain in Mexico policy? Back on the table. Catch and release? Done. And the troops? Yeah, they're heading south to fortify that line. This isn't talk. This is action. But here's the kicker. Cartels are now labeled as foreign terrorist organizations. Think about that for a second. It's not just law enforcement anymore. Now we're talking about military-level coordination. And by invoking the Alien Enemies Act, he's adding a legal framework that hasn't been used like this in modern memory. It's like taking the gloves off in a fight that's been festering for decades. No more treating this as just an immigration issue. This is now national defense, plain and simple. Historically, we've seen attempts to secure the border, sure, but they've faced pushback, legal challenges, political opposition, and, well, logistical hurdles. Remember the Secure Fence Act of '06? Good idea. Not so great in execution. And let's not even get started on the political football this issue turns into every election cycle. But naming cartels as terrorists? That's a level up we haven't seen before, and it creates new levers to pull, both politically and militarily. The real question is, will these steps hold up? Enforcement has plenty of blind spots, and history tells us that big promises at the border don't always pan out the way they're advertised. Still, Trump's banking on a combination of force, law, and optics to sell this initiative not just as another policy, but as a full-scale priority shift for the nation. Whether you call it strategy or gamble, this approach is designed to hit multiple targets: sovereignty, security, and, let's face it, votes. It's hard to argue that he isn't making border security the defining fight of this administration. Whether this fight pays off, though, is the million-dollar question. So let's talk power, literally. President Trump isn't just tweaking policies here. No, this is an overhaul. First, those electric vehicle mandates? Gone. He's calling the current push on EVs a flat-out disaster for American auto workers. And drilling? As he put it, drill, baby, drill. That's the mantra now. He's betting the farm on America's oil and gas reserves to fuel not just our energy, but our economy too. You know, it's not just domestic policy, it's global chess. Oil and gas aren't just about keeping the lights on, they're bargaining chips in trade and diplomacy. By ramping up domestic production and exporting energy, Trump sees a path to making America a dominant player again. a manufacturing nation no less. But here's the rub. Critics are already pointing out the environmental cost. Will this pushback hold water? We'll see, but for now, energy independence takes the driver's seat. Now, let's get to the defense side. He's reinstating service members discharged over vaccine mandates, back pay included. A bold nod to the military crowd. But beyond that, he's got some plans to overhaul operations from the inside out. Enter the newly proposed Department of Government Efficiency. Long name, big promises. He's framing this as a way to clean up bureaucratic bloat, but, let's face it, revamps of this size always face resistance. Red tape doesn't cut itself. And the tariffs? Trump's talking about something called the External Revenue Service, a whole new system focused on taxing foreign players, not us. The idea is simple. Make foreign countries pay their share while boosting revenue for America. Sounds great, right? But, global trade doesn't exactly operate on ideals alone. Retaliation is a real risk here, escalating into economic battles that could hit closer to home than you'd think. This is more than just policy tweaks, folks. It's a battleground. Energy, defense, and trade, all coming back under the America First banner. Whether these moves spark a resurgence or backlash is the question. But one thing's certain, this administration isn't sitting still. And with that, folks, the blueprint for America's future is laid out. Let's see how it shapes up on the ground. Till next time, stay sharp.